Idaho Matters is brought to you in part by St. Luke's Pharmacy, now offering free home delivery. For daily medications or one time prescriptions, home delivery is easy to set up. It's convenient and safe. St. Luke's Pharmacy, now delivering to your doorstep. Information on how to get started at stlukesonline.org.
So you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear it. Behind every Boise State Public Radio podcast is a team working hard to bring you stories that matter. So if you value podcasts like this one, please support them. Hit donate at boisestatepublicradio.org. Thanks.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. If you've used autocomplete, asked Siri a question, or gotten a recommendation on Netflix recently, you've already interacted with artificial intelligence. But AI is quickly becoming much more than a convenience. It's changing how students learn, how businesses operate, and how we think about trust, privacy, even human creativity. Ahead of the upcoming City Club of Boise Forum, AI in Idaho, Opportunity, Risk, and What Comes Next, we're sitting down with three of the panelists today to talk about that conversation. So joining us now are Jason Crawforth, CEO and founder of Square, Will Goodman, Chief Technology Officer for the Boise School District, and Jenny Telleria, owner and CEO of Against. I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, Jason, let's begin the conversation with you. AI has become one of those phrases that we hear everywhere, but so many people still feel like it's abstract, even intimidating. So from where you sit and what you do, what is the biggest misconception that people have about artificial intelligence right now?
Oh, just to narrow it down to one. I think that most people are, the misconception is that it's really about fear of what it is. The fear that people have of AI is really unfounded, is founded in that they just don't understand what it is capable of. And we're just at the beginning of AI. It's not something simple as like Google was. You put your information and it searches, and we understand it very quickly. AI is evolving very rapidly, and I think that the misperceptions of it are really based upon the fact that it's so new and is accelerating very quickly.
So, Jason, with that said, do you believe then that people are overestimating what AI can do right now?
Oh, no, I think people are underestimating. Those of us in the industry are developing a healthy level of respect as well as fear at the same time. I feel like I have a PhD sitting next to me when I use AI, and that's great when I use it as a tool. But when it is in the wrong hands and it can be weaponized, that's where those of us that understand what's happening realize that this is an incredibly powerful technology. So I think that most of us in the industry know that we're underestimating what it can actually do at this point.
Jenny, let me continue with you because Idaho has a really strong entrepreneurial and small business community. And many business owners are hearing that they should be paying attention to AI, but they may not know where to begin. So what practical changes are businesses already making because of AI?
I think a lot of it depends on the business owner themselves and what their comfort level is with artificial intelligence and how much they are investigating and using it themselves and encouraging their team members to use it. So I don't know that it's any one blanket statement. I do believe that the businesses that are going to be the most sustainable are the ones who are using it every single day, who are trying things that even scare them, but are doing it anyway.
So, Jenny, in your opinion, then, should Idaho business leaders be thinking more about AI right now or incorporating it? As you said, they should be thinking about it every day.
Absolutely. Even in my business, I run a consultancy where I'm working with other businesses and helping them grow and develop the things that they're trying to do. And we're using it in lots of different ways from, I developed a chief operations officer, if you will, that helps me simulate business decisions. I'm a sole business owner, and so I need someone to bounce those ideas off of. So, what happens if I lose a major client, or I hire two new team members, or I raise our prices? And these simulations, just in one example, has helped me understand that, if I raise my prices 10%, I would have a certain percentage of churn, but it would equal a 28% margin jump. So it's in those situations, that's real helpful intelligence. It's not just
Mhm.
guesswork.
So, Jenny, in your opinion, is AI becoming a competitive advantage in the workforce, or is it quickly becoming a necessity?
Well, both. It's absolutely a necessity. It is a very powerful tool, and you're falling behind if it's not something that you're utilizing.
Mm. So, Will, let's focus on education for a bit, because I think education is in a really interesting position right now because students are often using new technology. I mean, way before adults even understand it, and then you have teachers that need to adapt to these kids using it. You have administrators who are trying to then set policy around this, and then you've got parents. We're just sitting here trying to figure it all out. So, how is the Boise School District approaching AI?
Great question. Yeah, and we're trying to walk the line, kind of everything you just talked about. So we want to make sure, first and foremost, that our students are best prepared for their futures, best prepared for when they leave us to go on to post-secondary or on to their career. But at the same time, we want to make sure they're safe, that they're learning to do things in an ethical way, and really important that they're actually learning. And so we're constantly watching all of that within the Boise district, making sure that students are accessing AI at the appropriate age levels and with the appropriate amount of controls around what they can ask it, what it can answer, how it can be interacted with, and then really try to make sure we're preparing students to use it effectively while not using it to do inappropriate or basically plagiarism, cheating, or things along that nature.
So, Will, with that said, I mean, how realistic is it to expect students to not use AI? And I ask this question really as a parent because, when my oldest started high school 4 years ago, it was seen as this, frankly, like almost horrible thing, and now, fast forward 4 years later, and his school is understanding more, I think, about how it can be used as a tool. He is going to college in the fall where it is almost it is an expectation in all fields of study in the college that he'll be going to that they will be incorporating AI, but in an ethical, humanistic way. So how do you do what you're doing in a school district knowing realistically that you are not going to be able to tamp this down?
Yeah, we're kind of watching. One, we know they have access outside of school. We know that depending on the devices their parents give them or the access their parents give them, that they'll be interacting with it outside of us. So within the school district, what we try to do is give them tools that are they're basically a walled garden. So there are safeguards in place that, if a student uses an AI tutor, for example, the AI tutor will never give them the answer to the question, but it'll help them work through the problem, help them learn the steps so the student can solve the problem themselves. And so we're trying to make sure students get access to AI, that they can learn to use it and use it effectively, but that the AI has those safeguards. So at the same time as we're teaching ethics, the AI can also help teach those ethics as the student uses it.
So, Will, in your opinion, is the bigger challenge teaching students how to use AI ethically, or is it teaching them when not to use it?
Yeah, and I think that ethical part that goes right with it. So when we're teaching them to use it ethically, at the same time, we need to be teaching when it's okay and when it's not okay, and kind of scaffold into that. So, a junior high student may be given very explicit prompts to use in a very explicit AI, or another times told not to use it at all. And then in the high school level, making sure that students know when it's best to use it, when it's best not to use it, and that if they do use it, that they cite it appropriately.
So, Jenny, it seems that what schools do now, will shape the future's workforce. So, what are you hoping that students are learning about AI?
Well, I have actually an interesting perspective on that because not only am I a small business owner, but I also teach at Boise State. And so I'm engaging with students at that higher ed level and seeing how they're coming to the university with what level of preparedness they have from K through 12. And the skills and tools that we're teaching them are the things that they need to apply when they reach the workforce. So there's and this conversation is happening at a university level as well. It's not just K through 12 on the consternation around what tools do we put in those students' hands? What's the difference between thinking and doing? And all of those same conversations. We're all battling with this at the same time. Um, it's it really is a challenge, especially around the concept of students cheating. And what I don't think a lot of people who are resistant to the incorporation of artificial intelligence recognize is that if you are not teaching students the correct way to think about artificial intelligence, let alone use it, you're not preparing them for what's going to come next.
Mhm.
When I'm looking at hiring employees, I just went through a process of evaluating hundreds of applications for an internship program at my agency. And one of the questions I ask is around their familiarity and comfort level using artificial intelligence. You just have to have those skills now.
So, Jenny, let's talk a little bit more about that because I think that there's a great fear around AI replacing jobs, replacing human workers. And from your perspective, I mean, how is AI changing work and those human skills? Because I heard a very interesting comment about a week or so ago when someone said, you should not be in fear of AI taking your job. You should be concerned of someone who understands how to use AI effectively taking your job.
That is exactly what I tell my students or anyone who is resistant that the real risk isn't job loss, it's de-skilling. So if our junior talent never learns what great work looks like, then they can't direct artificial intelligence to produce it. So um, you have to you have to be able to understand and use it.
So, Jason, I want to talk about risk right now because AI, as I think we can all agree, is quite powerful, but it can also be wrong. I mean, it can spread misinformation. It can reflect bias. It can make decisions wrong. So, with that said, what concerns you most about where AI could go if we are not being thoughtful now, if we are not looking at AI in an ethical way?
Well, we've been enjoying the information age for the greater part of this, last 30 years, and we use information to inform, to educate, to entertain, to market, brand, and message. My fear is that AI is helping usher in the disinformation age, to be able to use information to manipulate, deceive, and defraud. And the volume and the velocity that we consume content is staggering. Every minute there are 600 hours of content uploaded to just YouTube alone. And
Mm.
that's 84 years worth of content every day being uploaded. And it's very difficult for us consumers to be able to discern what is real and what's not. There's a term called AI slop, and this is a term where right now about 20% of the content that's being uploaded to YouTube is partially or fully generated by AI. It's not real. And it's becoming so realistic that humans can't determine what's fake or what's real. You can tell if the ape that's looking at you talking in English
Mhm.
is fake, but there's others where you have politicians or influencers saying things that they never said. And so I think that people are concerned about, I hear people concerned about it providing wrong information. And that's just something that we as consumers have to kind of be skeptical, trust but verify. The thing that concerns me more is the ability to deceive and defraud based upon fake information that can be done. For example, I give my parents this warning is that if a phone call comes in and it sounds like my voice and I'm asking for something, you need to ask me an analog question because it may
Mm.
not be me. And an example of an analog question would be, like what was the name of the neighbor's dog that used to come underneath the fence and sit on our back patio asking for food. That's not on the internet. I know that answer. My parents know that answer, but that's a way to validate things. And so we have to start to rely more on analog methodologies to be able to protect ourselves from the dark side of what AI is capable of.
So, Will, are those concerns, and I've got about a minute or so left with all of you, the concerns that Jason just talked about, are those some of the concerns that are coming up in conversations around education as well and how to combat that moving forward at the same time, knowing that you also have to integrate AI? So it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way.
Yeah, it is, and it's causing a rewrite of what we call our digital citizenship curriculum. So we've taught for years how to be safe online, how to be a good citizen on the internet, and now we're needing to redo a lot of our safety trainings around the things that Jason just talked about, having code words or secret passwords when talking to your family or friends, how to validate the truth of data has changed. That entire curriculum section is now having to be rewritten, and so definitely we're heavily looking at that, and it's evolving very quickly.
Well, I want to thank all of you so much for taking time to talk with us about this today. It is such a fascinating topic. And of course, we will continue to be discussing AI as everything evolves in the future. We've been talking with Jason Crawforth, CEO and founder of Swear, Will Goodman, Chief Technology Officer for the Boise School District, and Jenny Tellieriak, owner and CEO of Against. They will be part of a panel discussion at the City Club of Boise's May 5th Forum, and it's called AI in Idaho, Opportunity, Risk, and What Comes Next. And thanks so much for listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. Do you have thoughts about today's episode? Make sure you email us at idahomatters@boisestate.edu or reach out on our socials. If you're really enjoying this show, a quick rating or review on Apple or Spotify really helps other folks discover us, and we'd appreciate it. Hi, Idaho Matters podcast listeners. If you're on your smartphone right now, or if you have it nearby, I wanted to pop in to tell you about something to check out. Boise State Public Radio is now on Nextdoor. Here's what that means: trusted local news, thoughtful reporting, and stories from across Idaho right along your neighborhood updates. If you already have the Nextdoor app, you're halfway there. Just search Boise State Public Radio and hit follow.